Crane the Cowboy back with you. We're heading into this long July 4th weekend, and Donald Trump may have a smile on his face. New Rasmussen poll shows suddenly he's leading Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, what a shock. 4 days ago he was losing in another poll. So I think we talked about it. I'm not going to pay too much attention until they both get through their conventions, till Hillary gets one way or the other with the FBI. I am not going to take these polls because of the BREXIT poll. And I think it's very similar. People go, well, it's England, we're America. There's a lot of similarities, especially in the working class and the middle class of those places. And I think that that people are just kind of fed up with this whole thing, and they're not telling the pollsters the truth.
Speaking of Brexit, there is a common denominator here. I don't know if you folks are aware of it, but there's a movement in the state of Texas for Texas to secede from the Union. We've been down to Texas. I have family who've been down there since 1980. It is a kind of a different mindset than the rest of the country. I don't know that there's any kind of a majority that wants to secede, but Brexit has given way to a TEXIT.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of funny. California is like Europe, or the wannabe Europe, at least the coastal California. And then Texas, that's America. That's red, white, and blue flying the whole day. In fact, their whole flag is the Lone Star flag. But we were talking, there's a movement in Western Maryland to break away from the rest of Maryland because it's too liberal. There's a movement in Catalan in Spain to break away. The Basques have wanted to break away for a long time. Old countries in the Soviet Union.
Northern California.
Northern California wants to break away. People are starting to go to like-minded, want to be around like-minded people. And I think eventually it's going to bear some fruit. I think somebody's going to leave. I think some of these European countries are going to break apart into their component parts. Who knows? Germany could go from the Germany it was back to a bunch of principalities. I don't know.
Well, the other thing, too, is I don't know what's going on in Western Maryland specifically, but I do know about Northern California and Texas, and immigration has a lot to do with it. And that was the big reason that Britain decided to leave the European Union.
Yeah, and in Texas, it's funny that along the Rio Grande Valley, was heavily Hispanic, Texas Hispanics don't want illegal immigration. And when Donald Trump won, when Ted Cruz, won Texas during the primary, Donald Trump carried all the counties right in the Rio Grande Valley, and he got Latino votes.
And the thing here, it's not so much about the economy, as that played a big role in Britain's decision to exit the EU, but this is about safety. This is about terrorism. This is about bad people coming across our border.
Yeah. And look what's coming across. It's amazing how many of these Syrian refugees, and they're not all from Syria, are military-age males. I mean, it's like ISIS is just, flooding the Western world with all these folks. And, the Westerners have turned a blind eye to this for years because, well, it's cheap labor.
Speaking of ISIS, if you followed what happened in Turkey just a couple of days ago from when we're taping this broadcast, how do you stop that? Somebody's got a bomb strapped to them, they've got a weapon, you can shoot them, but as we saw in that one very grisly video that made its way into television, this guy's apparently shot, and he waits a few seconds and then detonates him. He blows himself up and blows up a lot of other people nearby.
They didn't shoot him enough. He was still moving. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but he's
shoot him in the head and the hands can't move.
Keep shooting until he can't move. And either they're bad shots or they couldn't put one in his cabeza, because that's where you want to stop the guy, because it looked like there was a few seconds when he's writhing on the ground and then he pulls his thing in the big flash. Somebody should have kept shooting unless they run out of bullets.
So as we head into the summertime, and we remind you we'll be at the convention in Cleveland, and we'll be reporting on what we see on a daily basis with at least audio, and then when we come back, we'll have a lot more to talk about. But you get a feeling, Patrick, that what happened in Britain, a lot of the pundits and even the government leaders underestimated what the people thought. And I think this is a little bit with what you're seeing with this Donald Trump phenomenon.
I don't think the pundits know a thing. I mean, I watched the BBC that night, and they were ready to jump out the building. They were just so, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And then look what happens. Stock market takes a dump, international markets take a dump, and then what happens? Oh, we kind of float back to a nice, normal little place. Well, I guess it wasn't as bad as we thought. Traders, they always like to talk doom and gloom. And then people kind of reacted and they said, okay, well, I'm still British, I'm still alive, let's move forward.
You know, we've had the Tea Party movement, the original Tea Party. We had a Revolutionary War. We had the Civil War, or if you prefer in the South, the war between the states. Maybe we think because it happened so long ago, it can't happen again. I wonder if we're on the way to some sort of a civil unrest situation here.
I think we're on a way to a lot of different things, and you just put your finger right on it, and that is, it can never happen here. We hear that all the time.
9/11?
9/11. We're a civilized country. We don't do those kind of things. And I seem to remember that one of the most civilized, if not the most civilized country in Europe in the 1920s and 30s was Germany. If you talk to people in the medical field, just one field, Berlin was and Vienna, the Germanic world, they were the headquarters of many great discoveries in medicine. America was still kind of, podunk on science. And so a modern nation like that, the land of Goethe and all these wonderful authors and Beethoven, descends into hell. It can happen, and it can happen in varying degrees. So anybody that says it can, I think, is whistling past a graveyard.
Well, in the case of the Nazis, it was an awful economy, and it was, racial animosity. Does it sound familiar?
Yeah, it does sound very familiar. And anybody that is not paying attention are going to wake up one day, and it will happen. And as far as civil unrest in this country, boy, these campaign demonstrations, I've been in a lot of campaigns, I've never seen this kind of brutality.
Those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it.
Yep.
Craner the Cowboy here on thelibertyplaybook.com. It's about current events, it's about civics, it's about your role as an American. Thanks for being with us.